Welcome to the Comic Sauce Podcast, where we talk comics and comics culture. I am Henry Liu. Hold on, I think I kind of flubbed that very beginning. Let me do it one more time.
You didn't hear my Slack ping sound, did you?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the Comic Sauce Podcast, where we talk comics and comics culture. I am Henry Liu, and today I'm joined by Porfirio Rangel. Porfirio, how you doing?
Pretty good, Henry. Happy to be here.
Excellent. I am also joined by Christian Diadamo. Christian, how you doing?
Doing well, Henry. Doing well.
And we are joined by Ranier. Ranier, how goes?
Good. How's it going?
Doing well. We are also joined by a very special guest. We are joined by Vito from the Not Your Father's Movies podcast. Vito, how goes?
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Very excited to be here.
Thank you for joining in. And before we dive into Mortal Kombat, our main theme today, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Sure, love to. So my podcast, I do it with two other dads, my buddies Mike and Jesse. It's Not Your Father's Movies. There we kind of discuss the dad genre of movie, whatever that is, and we try and define it in some way by picking series to cover that we enjoyed with our dads, or that we're going to see us enjoying with our own kids. We all have kids. We all want to show them the movies that have come out since we were kids. We're not really sure which ones to do them. So we kind of pick these different series to go through and talk with each other and say, like, is this a dad movie? Would we show this to our kids? When would we do so? And I'm really excited to be here tonight talking Mortal Kombat because this is out for my two hosts that might be listening later on out there who unilaterally did not want to show this to their kids, and therefore it was not available on our show. But I really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is Mortal Kombat on the list to
Absolutely
consider?
not. Like it would be on the one, like when my kids might come home from college or something, and then they go to my wife and they where's dad? He's in the basement. And they go, oh no, Mortal Kombat again.
Nice.
But that's our show. That's what we do. And find us at nyfmovies.com.
Awesome. So I didn't want to tangent too much, but I am curious, what makes for a dad movie? Like, what do you consider a quote unquote dad movie?
It varies. It varies from day to day and from dad to dad, as we like to say. A big part of it is just, are you excited to show this to your kids? Or, if you don't have kids, would you be excited to show this to a young person in your life? Does this have something that you find meaningful? It could be a message, quote unquote. It could be just something that you find really cool or really interesting that it talks about. Like we covered the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and my two co-hosts did not want to vote that third Spider-Man as a dad movie, but I have huge memories of seeing that with my dad. And I know it's not good. I know it's in fact downright terrible, but I voted for it because I want to pass on the memories that I had with my dad seeing it to my kids. And I know they won't care, but that's like a dad's job. It's like, I'm going to bore the hell out of you, kid, but I got to tell you this. So with that loose framework, I mean, I think my other co-host, Jesse, he's got more of a well thought out take, but for me, it's much more about that feeling. What am I excited to show?
That's cool.
Awesome. I'm actually thinking of movies that I saw as a kid with my dad, and there are movies I don't think I'd ever watch with my kids. Like I saw RoboCop with my dad.
Oh wow.
And I think we saw Garbage Pail Kids. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
House Party. I don't know if you guys remember that.
House Party. Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about, like, Dad, what were you thinking taking me to these movies?
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I turned out okay.
So yeah, there's definitely an argument for RoboCop then, is what I'm hearing.
All right, awesome. Okay, so today is April 29th, 2021, and we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat. Real quick, the Comic Sauce Podcast is social now. Check us out at Comic Sauce Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And now on to Mortal Kombat. So yeah, this is a little bit of a departure for us because we tend to keep it in the comics realm. But no doubt tonight we're going to talk video game stuff. Mortal Kombat originally was a video game, right? That's where it all started. Mortal Kombat is a video game series developed by Midway, creators Ed Boon and John Tobias. So it started out as a video game. It has since become so much more, right? So the reason why we're all talking about it right now is because there's a new Mortal Kombat movie, right? Brand new, release year 2021, just came out on HBO Max. We've all seen it and we're gonna dive into it. But first, I thought it might be fun to get a little gauge on where do we all fall in the Mortal Kombat fandom spectrum. You know, like I said, the majority of us talk comics all the time, right? But what about this video game property? You know, are we Mortal Kombat fans? If so, like, to what degree, right? Yeah, maybe we'll start with that. So what was your experience with Mortal Kombat before seeing this new movie? And, you know, where would you consider yourself on that fandom spectrum? Maybe we can just go down the line here. Porfirio, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So let's see, I got into it, yeah, in elementary school back in the early 2000s. Yeah, it was introduced to it with my cousins. We played it on PlayStation, I think. And yeah, it was definitely like one of those games where, like, you know, like adults tell you don't play. So obviously we're little kids who are like, yeah, let's play. Blood, fighting, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, then we watched the movies as a kid, and at that time, you know, like, it's like, oh, these graphics are pretty awesome, and you know, but yeah, I mean, I love the characters, I love the whole fighting style and everything, and yeah, Mortal Kombat is just fucking awesome.
Cool. How about you, Christian?
All right. So I started with Mortal Kombat. Let's see, probably around elementary school. I think like I had a friend who had a Super Nintendo with Mortal Kombat 2, and that's kind of where I started with the game where it didn't have blood. Whenever you hit somebody, gray blood would come out, and that was quote unquote sweat. And so I started with that, and then like kind of got more into it, kind of in like the PlayStation 2, like Xbox era. And then like continued on. There was a really good Mortal Kombat versus DC game that I really enjoyed. Although that was like and they took out the fatalities in that game because they couldn't have like Superman and Batman do fatalities back then. And then I think I really got into it like with the reboot game Mortal Kombat 9. That was a real big hit around the college years, Xbox 360. And then I also watched Mortal Kombat, like the movie. I really liked Mortal Kombat Legacy when that came out, season 1. And let's see, that's probably, I think, where I ended with Mortal Kombat. My main was always Reptile.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Good
you're
call.
one of those people.
Yeah, I turned invisible.
Hey, real quick, on the bloodless version of Mortal Kombat, I seem to remember that. Wasn't that like a Nintendo?
That was a Nintendo
Yeah, I
thing.
think
That was a big deal. I remember that.
I remember that
Mhm.
too. Yeah.
And everyone was upset that they like changed the color of the blood, and I was like, it's just blood, but it meant a lot of things to a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's where you played the bloodless version, Christian, on a Nintendo
Yeah.
system? Okay.
I think that's probably how my friend was able to get it. Like, oh, there's no blood; it's just sweat.
Right.
That's
And
how he
really,
convinced his parents, you know.
yeah. And that's the only difference, right? It was like gray blood instead of red blood,
Mhm.
right? but that fact alone made that version of the game totally weak. Like I remember just just hearing like, oh no, that's not the real thing. Like it's no good. It sucks.
I don't know if they took out fatalities in the game if you couldn't do them, because like we were kids and like we didn't really know how to do any of that anyway.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, how about you, Ranier?
Ooh, where am I on this spectrum? Let's see. So I played Mortal Kombat when, well, I should probably start with, I was more of a Street Fighter kid. So full disclosure. And that was the days of going to the pizza shop, waiting in line by putting my quarter up on the stand up and waiting my turn to play. So my childhood really revolved around Street Fighter. And I mean, Mortal Kombat was there. Like it was there when I was a kid. And yeah, it's always just kind of been around. And I did play it as a kid. I don't think I just got as excited as I did with like Street Fighter. I did watch the movie. And I remember we watched with my buddies. I think we were in high school. And we watched a double feature. We watched Mortal Kombat, and then we watched oh man, what's that movie? Gangster's Paradise. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the movie.
The one with Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yes, something Dangerous Minds. Dangerous Minds.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
There we go.
And it's funny because we left the theater like on such a downer, and it's like we should have done it the other way around.
Yeah.
And anyway, but yeah, I mean, I thought Mortal Kombat was cool. Like it was different. It was obviously very different from Street Fighter, and like the idea of fatalities that you could like do an extra move like after you defeated your opponent, I thought was cool.
Yes, definitely.
But that's as far as I got. I never, and well, I mean, that's actually probably more recently. I think Mortal Kombat it's like a Warner Brothers property.
Yeah.
And they integrated them into the Gods Among Us game, the DC game, so you could fight like Batman and Superman versus like Scorpion. I think Sub-Zero's in there. I think that might have been the latest version of any level of Mortal Kombat that I played.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay, how about you, Vito?
I think this is actually the first game I actually really remember playing. I was very young and I went to an arcade. I was young enough that I had to go with my dad. And I remember standing there at the buttons and he hadn't put any quarters in yet. And I remember, they'd show you the pre-fight. And I remember like hitting like the two buttons that you had and moving the joystick and being like, wow, I'm really good. I'm so good. I'm wasting this guy. And then he's like, oh yeah, I haven't put any money in. You're not actually playing yet. I was like, oh, okay. And then he put the money in and I died immediately. But that was like my first taste of Mortal Kombat of video games. So Mortal Kombat's been in my life for a long time, but not in a very active way. I don't play it on the regular. I'm not a big fighting game guy. But Mortal Kombat to me always defined fighting games, even as I discovered like Street Fighter, as we're saying, or discovered Tekken. And so all my Mortal Kombat experiences either from that opening moment with my dad and then watching the slipcase, VHS of Mortal Kombat over and over and over and wearing it out, watching that with my friends. And just kind of like early childhood memory, and then sort of like what Porfirio was saying, and then also like what Christian's saying, in college, definitely a lot of those Xbox 360 parties. You get a group of like 10 guys in a room, and two guys have to go head to head, and you fight the winner, got to fight the loser. Yeah, it was like just a bonding thing. Always been around, never been a huge fan, I guess, just because I never was into the lore or anything. But I love how campy and cheesy and kind of terrible those old movies are. And I have a special place in my heart for things like that. So yeah, I have known about it for as long as I've known about video games.
Excellent. Okay, so for me, Mortal Kombat kind of similarly definitely holds a special place in my heart. And yeah, it's something that hasn't really been with me like for, the last 20, 30 years. But there was like a brief period in the 90s where I was so fully into it. It was pretty wild. Like I watched the original movie. I had a Sega Genesis and I played Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 like all the time. Something that I did that no one has mentioned is the music the music of Mortal Kombat was really huge in the 90s also. So I had all that stuff. I had the video game soundtrack, I had the movie soundtrack, I had the sequel soundtrack, all of that stuff, right? I think there was a moment where there had to have been many moments where I had my my like 3-disc changer, and it was just everything in there was a Mortal Kombat CD. I just had it in heavy rotation. So I did martial arts too. So like there had to have been like a year where like I was doing martial arts, I was playing Mortal Kombat video games, I was watching Mortal Kombat movies, and I was listening to Mortal Kombat music, and it was just like I was consumed with it, right? So yeah.
I was waiting for you to say I was doing fatalities.
Yeah, maybe that would have been next if I went down that rabbit hole.
actually to that note, Henry, I also did martial arts for about 12 years when I was younger, and the amount of times that I heard Mortal Kombat played at an expo somewhere just over a large gymnasium was like equal to the amount of times that they played that song, y'all ready for this? Do 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 do. Yes. So this song, those two songs, I think for me were played probably every other weekend for 8-10 years of my life. I hear it and I have almost like a visceral response to it. Like, wait, I'm looking for a punch. Where's it coming from?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, with the new movie that came out, to kind of psych myself up, I went back into my old CD collection and I played some of those old CDs, and man, yeah, they brought back a lot of great memories for sure. Okay, so real quick, Christian, you mentioned your favorite Mortal Kombat character. Interesting pick, Reptile. Like, I'm kind of curious if others have a favorite character. Mine was Scorpion. That's, I think, a pretty common answer. Yeah, like that Cable with the spear at the end. I mean, pretty amazing. And the whole "come here, get over here" thing, like amazing. Like the first time I did that, I think I did it on accident. I didn't even know he could shoot the spear out of his wrist, and he did it, and then he pulls it in and do the uppercut thing, and the guy goes flying and the blood comes spurting out. Like I was just like in amazement, couldn't believe what I see. And but yeah, anybody else have a favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Yeah, so mine, I always picked Katana, just because like, since I always played with family, everyone was like, I'm this person. So I always wanted to be Scorpion, but another cousin was like, no, I'm Scorpion. You can't pick Scorpion. So but yeah, nobody ever, since it was just like a group of guys, nobody picked any of the girls, but I loved playing Katana. She was her moves were so easy to learn, and her moves were very effective, and I just loved the blue costume. It was just yeah, and she was super awesome and fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Character that stood out for me most was Raiden, only because like it reminded me so much of Big Trouble in Little China, and I remember thinking, I wonder if they modeled Raiden after that character.
Oh, I'm pretty sure every Mortal Kombat character is a ripoff of something else.
I didn't realize, so I don't know if you guys have all seen that High Scores on Netflix, where they go into the history of video games, that they had originally modeled is it Johnny Cage after Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
And they originally pitched it to him, right? And he declined, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Then didn't he go on to play Guile in the
Yes, he did.
Street Fighter movie?
Yes.
He would have been better off as Luke Cage, or not Luke Cage, sorry, Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage.
I said Luke Cage.
That would not work.
You never know.
But to me, you just listed one of the greatest, well, worst missed opportunities of all time. It should have been Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Johnny Cage in the original Mortal Kombat movie. That movie was awesome. Like I said before, it holds a special place in my heart. And the video game character was based on Van Damme. And then Van Damme turns it down. And what does he do? He does Street Fighter movie, which was god awful, So it's just too bad. how that all worked out, right? But that's one of those things, like one of those great what ifs. Like, what if Van Damme was in the Mortal Kombat movie? It could have been like so amazing, right?
Yeah.
We'll never know how it would have turned out.
I guess we're gonna see if it's gonna be Ryan Reynolds next. That's the rumors.
He could be a great Johnny
Yeah,
Cage.
he could do it.
He could be smarmy and enough of an ass. Yeah,
Definitely.
My favorite was always Sub-Zero. I as a kid, I got it mixed up because I would always see like Scorpion was the one that had the skull head and would breathe the fire and summon the demon hand. So I always just assumed that he was evil. And the good guy was the guy in blue who had the ice. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Sub-Zero, good guy. And it was really shocking, years on, having not paid any attention to the lore, to watching the animated Mortal Kombat Legends movie and realizing that Scorpion was the good guy this whole time. I didn't know that.
Right. And they're leaning into that with the new movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened? Same thing. Like, where did it turn around? Because before it was Sub-Zero who was more of the like anti-hero type character, and Scorpion was just like evil incarnate, right?
Yep.
But somewhere along the line it just flipped. Like, I was very surprised. Like, yeah, both of the movies you mentioned, Vito, like it turned around, which is odd to me. But
yeah, I was shocked. It's like I felt like a bunch of people had come to a ruling without me and then didn't tell me for about 10 years. And then when I finally found out, I felt really, I was like, there's egg in my face now. But it's nice knowing, Henry, you didn't know either. Was this known to other people? I mean, Ranier, you're talking about how you didn't really have Mortal Kombat in your life, but did other people know this?
I kind of thought that I thought because they sort of shared a very similar like aesthetic, that they were part of some like crew together. And they were both kind of like a little bit of good, maybe a little bit of bad.
Nice.
Like, I wonder if it's because Scorpion just got so popular that they just really wanted to make him the protagonist over time,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So another fun kind of fandom related question is Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? Rainier mentioned he's more of a Street Fighter guy. But yeah, what about everyone else? Do you have a preference, one or the other? Thoughts?
Probably Mortal Kombat for me. I actually I never really played Street Fighter until college, when I like roomed with a bunch of guys who were like really into fighting games. And like I had a roommate who was like really big into Street Fighter 3. Like, he played every day. He went to the practice room. And I was like, "Oh, hey, can I sit down and play with you one day?" And I was like, I like, like, I only knew like a few characters. Oh, I'll pick Chun-Li. And I just beat him butt mashing his Chun-Li. This like very experienced Street Fighter player. And he got real mad. And so I played with him for like a while, just button mashing Chun-Li until he would beat me. And so like I've always stayed with I guess Mortal Kombat, but like like after playing it, I have like garnered kind of a love of Street Fighter, I guess, over time. I actually watched the animated movie, which is actually pretty good. Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
Yeah, that's really good. I saw that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. But I guess like, the fighting game that I always kind of grew up with, and I guess I still kind of play today, is Super Smash Bros, which is kind of its own world,
Hey Christian, when you were button mashing against your buddy with Chun-Li and you were beating him left and right, who was he playing? Don't tell me Zangief.
I think he was Yan. I'm trying to remember. It was there was two brothers. It was like Yin and Yan. I think he was Yan. I'm probably butchering the name. It might have been Yang. It might have been something else. It's like off the top of my head, but I think that's who it was. It was like Yang or Yan.
I should know this.
I know we're looking at you. You're the one that knows, man. Tell us.
Well, I'm original Street Fighter too, so like all the turbo stuff, like I kind of dabbled in it, but not so much.
You're a purist.
Yeah, you could say that.
I didn't.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Vito.
Oh, okay. I just to sort of launch off that point, I just loved Mortal Kombat was fighting games for me for a really long time until I got to college, like Christian's saying. And then I found out that there was a whole, like, there's all these hives of people that love fighting games and they love their fighting game a lot. So there was 6 or 7 frat guys that really love Mortal Kombat because they got to cheer when the fatality happened, and then there's the guys that loved Street Fighter, and they're the ones that were quite skilled, pretty experienced. Like, it wasn't very much fun playing with them because they were very much into the technique of it. And then there's those weird guys that played Soul Calibur that no one else played with, but they all played Soul Calibur. I never got to experience Soul Calibur because of the Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter gang sort of allying themselves against the Soul Calibur gang. But everyone could agree in the end that Super Smash Brothers was king, and everyone loved Super Smash. And we all just played Super Smash because anyone can play it. You can pick it up after like 10 minutes. It's great. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that as far as the whole debate goes. I did own Street Fighter back when, but I was a kid. It was way too hard for me. I could not figure out what to do with all those buttons.
Yeah, I too was more of a Mortal Kombat person. I wouldn't say like heavily in that camp. I think there's a lot of appeal to both sides. Street Fighter definitely had the cooler look. I think it has a kind of anime style to it. Mortal Kombat was going for something very different. They were going for more of a real life look, right? But the aesthetics, I think Street Fighter kind of wins that battle. But then I mentioned the movies, right? That was pretty formative. In the 90s, the Mortal Kombat movie came out, and so did the Street Fighter movie. And the Mortal Kombat movie was so much better than the Street Fighter movie that really solidified my stance in that rivalry, right? The gameplay, I think that's worth mentioning too. I think I enjoyed the Mortal Kombat gameplay a little more. I don't know. I felt it was a little bit more like more of an adrenaline rush, right? Maybe it was the blood flying around or just kind of a seemingly faster pace. Yeah, there was some stuff where you could fly from one side of the screen to the other, like teleportation stuff, and just made for this faster experience. I think that probably has a lot to do with my main playing. It was through that Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. I remember that was kind of billed as the Mortal Kombat on steroids version of the game, right? It was hyped up, sped up. And yeah, I got into it. It was very exciting playing that game. So yeah, hence I think the needle moved more into Mortal Kombat for me.
Would you say the learning curve for Mortal Kombat was probably easier than Street Fighter?
I kind of think so. Yeah.
Because when I think Street Fighter, I think of everyone that does combos and stringing combos together. And that was the one thing I remember most when I dropped Street Fighter to play Mortal Kombat. Stringing combos didn't seem as responsive in Mortal Kombat than it did in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would eventually get to the combos. But when you're starting out, you're just punch, uppercut. And if you did that, you're already you're already formidable. You can get stuff done, right?
Yeah.
Just or you can get the leg over and over.
Don't sweep the leg over and over. Don't do that. That's how you lose friends and family.
Okay. How about you, Porfirio? Did you have a preference, one or the other?
I mean, just because of accessibility, I played Mortal Kombat more. The only time I actually played Street Fighter was when I went to the car wash, and my parents would give me the coins to go play the arcade game while I was waiting. But yeah, definitely Mortal Kombat all the way.
All right. So one last little bit before we dive into the new movie. What about past on-screen portrayals of this franchise? This isn't the one and only Mortal Kombat movie or show. There have been a number of movies, live action and animated. thoughts there? I know a lot of us have seen the past movies. Yeah, any thoughts on your, your experiences with the past Mortal Kombat films?
Christian,
Well-
I see you itching, man. You want to talk about TV shows?
Well, there's actually one specific thing I wanted to, I guess, shout out. So background, like 2010, I think 2011. There was like a really good fan video about Mortal Kombat that got put out. I showed it to Porfirio the other day, and I'll probably link it in the chat because I think it's really cool. But it's called Mortal Kombat Rebirth, and so basically it's kind of like meant to be like this like gritty, almost like horror version of Mortal Kombat with like no supernatural abilities, and it's like this like 5-10 minute video where Jax has like Scorpion in an interrogation room, and he kind of goes through a profile of a bunch of different like Mortal Kombat characters, where like Baraka's just like a surgeon that went crazy and put blades in his arms, and there's this underground tournament that's going on where like Shang Tsung is bringing together everybody, and you kind of just see like little snippets of like different takes of these Mortal Kombat characters. And I think it's really cool. Like, I watched it again after watching this movie, and it's still great. I'll probably link it once we're done with this podcast.
I do want to see it.
Cool.
For me, like the Mortal Kombat movie, when I saw the commercial, I remember thinking, man, this movie looks like the video game like just came to life. Like the characters move like the characters are supposed to. They're saying the things that they say in the video game, and like that, that techno beat like soundtrack, like that just kind of sticks with you.
Yeah, for
Yes.
me, I think I like went through like phases with the movie. Like I remember when it first came out, the OG movie, I liked it because I was a kid. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Then in college, I was like, this is outdated. This is stupid. And now I watched, last week with you, Henry, and I was like, this is really good. Even though it's like
Yeah.
horny as hell. Now it's just like, this is still pretty good. And I love it.
I actually haven't seen it since I since I first saw it. Does it still hold up?
I think so. I think I want to save my thoughts for comparing the new one with the old one, but like after watching with the new one, I think it still does hold up.
I think the
I
thing
learned to appreciate it more on a higher level, but yeah.
I think now that I think about it, I don't think I was the guy they cast to play Raiden, again referencing Big Trouble in Little China. Like it didn't it didn't compute for me. Like it seemed like it wasn't a casting choice I would have selected.
That's funny. So how about you, Vito?
Yeah, I like I said earlier, I loved that original. Watched it again just last week. As Porfirio was saying, definitely had my peaks and valleys with that movie. From being it's awesome to being 20 and saying this is trash, to being a little older now and being like, actually this has its place. This has its unique identity that not many things can share with it. What I can say though, without almost reservation at all, is that Mortal Kombat Annihilation is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It is unpardonably bad. Like it just doesn't make sense from a minute to minute basis.
Yep.
That being said, I had a really good time watching it with a friend of mine who was visiting, and we were just very confused for most of it, but laughing, and I was like, this is perfect. This is a good bad movie, but then that animated Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion, I'm sorry, the title is very long. I don't remember the whole thing. But that one was a shock to me. I was like, wow, there are characters and they have arcs and motivations and desires and reasons for acting. And there's growth and change across a period, like a movie. And that would just impress the hell out of me. I had not been expecting that at all, especially in something as violent and like seemingly transgressive feeling as Mortal Kombat. And so coming to this movie, this new one was yeah, I got a lot more thoughts about it, but that's what I have seen and kind of what I think about it in general.
I'm really curious to see how bad Annihilation is. Is it one of those things where it's so bad it's good, or it's just so bad it's really bad?
It might depend on your day. I'm not sure.
Kind of both at the same time. Like it's like
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. Like
Oh, just
less
one-liners
budget.
everywhere, and they throw in a fight scene here and there.
It's kind of they never stop fighting almost, right? Like it's a lot of like you kick and then someone else kicks and there's like a long, slow like fly through the air into a stack of bricks and then the bricks explode. And there's all this like nice green screen background of like lightning all the time. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's on HBO Max.
It reminds me of, have you guys seen Ultraviolet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of that. Like it was all fighting, like no story.
Right.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it sounds like Vito and Christian, you're a little bit in the camp of it's so bad, it's kind of good sort of thing. I will say definitively, this movie is unwatchable. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is maybe the worst movie I have ever seen, period. And it's crazy. I saw that movie in the movie theaters when it came out, 1997. Was appalled. I had a terrible experience. Like I said, I loved the original. So I was really looking forward to this sequel, and it was just terrible. I hated it, locked it away, blocked it in my mind for like, 20 plus years until last week, right? Discovered it was on HBO Max, knew we were going to do a Mortal Kombat themed episode. So I thought, hey, let's revisit this movie. And it was like maybe worse than my first experience watching it in the 90s. It's just terrible. It's I'm telling you, if the five of us met like in a dirt lot and we on an iPhone we shot like a kung fu movie, it would have turned out better than this piece of shit.
Agreed.
We could do a better job. It's that bad. Okay.
It helped that I had a friend and there was a couple beers involved. And one of those where you sort of watch for a while, then you talk and you go, what's happening? I don't remember. Oh, you got punched in the face. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Not engagement whatsoever. But you're
go.
right. I would agree with you too, Henry. You're absolutely right.
It did kind of help me though. My son actually watched Mortal Kombat Annihilation with me, and he kind of got a kick out of it. He's 6 years old, so that kind of gives you an idea of the appeal level of the movie. But he's like, oh, ninjas and robots are fighting each other. That's cool. So there you go.
Perfect.
But this should lead nicely into our main topic, the new movie. But I wanted to give my thoughts on the original Mortal Kombat movie. And I got to say, this is an all-timer for me. Watching it with you last week, Porfirio, was so much fun. I hadn't seen it in a long time. But I really cherished this movie before, seeing it again, it definitely held up for me. To me, it's so great in so many different ways. So I'm starting to get into the new movie territory a little bit. I will say that I was quite disappointed in the new movie. And I think the reason is it's kind of everything the original Mortal Kombat movie wasn't. I felt like the original Mortal Kombat movie, number one, above anything else, it was a kung fu flick. It was a kung fu flick in the vein of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that stuff, right? It was that before it was a video game adaptation, before it was a special effects movie, before it was any of that stuff, right? So it was a kung fu movie made by real martial artists. The actor who plays Liu Kang has legit martial arts ability. The stunt actors who play Reptile, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero are amazing. They are really great. They are legit, physically gifted. So there is the Mortal Kombat stamp of approval on it, where you get some flourishes of special effects, and you do get Sub-Zero's ice abilities and the superpowers, right? But that all kind of took a back seat to just straight up hand-to-hand combat and really well choreographed fight scenes, right? So we're gonna get into the new movie, but I felt like the new movie really lacked in that department. Yeah. What else can I say? The Mortal Kombat theme song is so fucking good. I cannot tell you. We already talked about this, but I have to talk about it again. Like anytime I hear that song, it just amps me up. I want to just like start throwing kicks and roundhouses and punches and combos and stuff. And the original movie starts with that song. And then you hear it again during the movie. And then you hear it again during the movie. And then you hear it in the end credits. You know, it's all throughout the movie and the way it should be. What else? There's a nice campiness in the movie. I love that. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's very much in the spirit of the video games, right? The video games, I think at some point, the creators of the video game, the head popped up and would say, toasty, stuff like that, right? It's just funny, goofy stuff like that, kind of like a Stan Lee sort of thing going on. So the movie sort of, you know, embraced that spirit of fun and campiness. It's great. It's a great movie. I mean, the effects are very dated, and the acting is not very good. let's say that. But there is so much appeal to this movie. To me, it's just like a special movie to me. One other big thing. There's a fight in this movie, Liu Kang versus Reptile. It is amazing. This fight is one of the all-time great martial arts scenes in like movie history to me. It's so great. The stunt work, the fight choreography, the music. They had this great Juno Reactor song. It's really long too. They let it play out. They don't like end it too soon. It kind of doesn't make any sense. It like comes out of nowhere. It's not really a tournament battle. It's like it's great surprise moment. So I can't say enough about the original Mortal Kombat movie, and probably that movie has a lot to do with my disappointment for the new one. So let's get into the new movie. I'll get into my thoughts a little more. I'll just start there, that it was a pretty big disappointment for me. This new movie was a pretty big disappointment. How about the rest of you guys? What were your thoughts, initial thoughts on the new Mortal Kombat movie?
All right. I'll start. So I guess no spoilers for my initial thoughts. I enjoyed the movie. I think that I completely get what you're saying, to where there is something very disappointing in like the choreography did take a bit of a back seat. But I think with that, there's something that I've always kind of wanted from that Mortal Kombat movie that I think the original didn't provide. That's just like gore and lots of it. Seeing the fatalities and seeing like a bunch of those nice little fan servicey moments did put a pretty big grin on my face. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Liu Kang do like, kill somebody with his hat, and you're like, yeah, yeah, like, and there's some really cool like big hype moments to the movie. Like, I think when you see like the fights themselves and you see someone do the move that you like, or a character that you really like appear, like, it's real hype. It's really cool. But there's also some parts of the movie that I just kind of didn't like, and I think there's some parts of the movie that like I think the original did do better. That I guess I'll get into a little more later. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the fights were fun.
Really good review. Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought the fights were fun. Yeah,
I like gore.
I do too. I do too. And I was so happy to see it here. And that's actually like when Henry's talking about like the charm, right, of the older one, of the actual martial artists, putting on just the costumes or whatever and getting out there and doing the actual fights for real. The editing is choppy and the filming isn't so great, but you can tell that the people performing the moves really know how to do them. As opposed to here, where even though it's really impressive that we have a 2-scale Goro that has 4 operational arms that can move because of computer generated imagery, there is something that feels a little lacking, right? A little soulless, where the hits don't really feel like hits. Whereas before, you like in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when someone would get kicked and then they'd step on the ground and you see the ground is just padded, like the stone kind of bends in. You're like, oh, okay, but it feels tactile in a way. Yeah, I really dug the fights. That's why I'm here. And what I was surprised by was that incorporation of the Scorpion kind of story, opening it up with his killing and his family's killing as well, and Raiden's adopting of his child. I just wasn't expecting them to do that so quickly. And then this new character played by Louis Tan, Cole Young. It's an interesting choice to add a new fighter, especially a fighter whose power is Black Panther's power. I can't say I was excited, but it was something. It was something different for a franchise that I think maybe needs to try some different things. And in the end, when it was all over, I got to see Scorpion say, "Get over here." I got to see Sub-Zero stab Scorpion with a knife of Scorpion's own blood. I got to see Goro get stuck through the eye with a baton. I was happy. It's all good. Like, I'm happy with this. But at the same time, I would never hold this movie in the sort of reverence that I even hold the original to be. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine in my opinion, but maybe it's a little less than fine.
For me, going off what you were saying, Christian, I just, in this movie, I kind of had no expectation of a good storyline, no Oscar-worthy performance, but I just wanted blood and gore, blood action. That's what I always liked about Mortal Kombat, and it gave me that. But the whole, lackluster of a storyline, I didn't care so much for the characters, except maybe Kano. Like, he was the only one that was like, okay, this guy's actually pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's why, like I said, I appreciate the OG one so much better, because even though it was cheesy of all the one-liners, like flawless victory, fatality, it like played true to the Mortal Kombat spirit. And I felt like that's something that this movie was missing, that like I didn't get that Mortal Kombat style from this movie. It was just like a bunch of fights and gore and all that kind of stuff. And it was cool seeing some characters come to life with like today's effects, like Goro and Liu Kang and Jax and all that. But that wasn't enough, I think, to save the movie. So let me just say, I was just a little disappointed that we didn't get that. And that's why I say that I had a higher appreciation than for the OG than this one.
Got it. How about you, Ranier?
Let's see. Where should I start? So I'm a fan of Louis Tan. First having seen him from Iron Fist and knowing the whole story about how he got that role. So I was like rooting for this guy. And then to hear that he got the Shatterstar role in Deadpool 2, come to behold, he didn't last very long on screen. And I'm thinking, okay.
Spoilers.
Everyone's seen it. Come on. And so I was really rooting for Louis Tan here. I think right off the bat, like the movie, I think it really tries to give like some depth to the story. I think they were trying to give it like some meaning. And I think where it fell a little short was I was really curious to see what they were going to do with Louis Tan's character. And it didn't really go that deep. It was kind of hard to follow the guy and his story and his family. And then another actor, he's the guy that plays Jimmy Olsen from the Supergirl series, who plays Jax. I saw an interview with, I liked his character on Supergirl. And so I was really rooting for him as well. And he was in an interview and he was like, man, this is like a dream role for me. Like, I've always wanted to play this character because I've loved the game like since I was a kid. And his story fell like really short. But like the characters that, like Kano and Scorpion and Sub-Zero, all those characters, like they're great. Like they're cool. They're awesome. It would have been cool to have seen more of Scorpion's character. And the thing that was really nagging here was that like they kept talking about this tournament that we have to win this tournament. There was no tournament. And so that fell really short for me. I was expecting like this epic like tournament, like Bloodsport style, but it didn't happen. It fell short. It was fun to watch, but it fell a little short for me.
Got it. Ranier, you just listed my number one gripe with this movie. Okay, so I didn't hate it outright. There were some aspects of the movie I did enjoy. I love the Asian representation in the movie. A lot of awesome Asian actors are in this movie. This is a video franchise that was created by two white guys who are essentially appropriating Asian culture with the Mortal Kombat video games, right? So to have it turned around where there's like a ton of Asian actors doing these roles is pretty damn cool. You know, I definitely appreciated that. Porfirio, you mentioned Kano is really funny. I agree. He was hilarious in this movie. He was a highlight for sure. Couple cool fatality scenes, and we talked about the Kung Lao hat scene, which is something else. Yeah, let's give a spoiler alert now. We can get into spoilers for this movie. But yeah, where is the fucking tournament? How can you have a Mortal Kombat movie without a martial arts tournament? It does not make any sense.
They reference that movie left and right, and it's like, okay, this is what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't happen.
It never happened. Not only did the tournament not happen, but they never even had, well, I shouldn't say never, but they hardly had one-on-one battles. You know, like the opening scene, they had Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I guess there's a Goro versus Cole scene, but most of the fighting was like team battles. Again, like this is not Mortal Kombat. This is just like, this is something else. There's a line in the movie that I took note of where they're talking about how powerful Sub-Zero is, right? And Cole is like, yeah, I know that. Let's work as a team. He says this. This is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is one-on-one fighting. It is duel to the death, right? This is not Mortal Kombat. I don't know what this is. This is like a wannabe Avengers or something. I don't know. But yeah, like I got to the very end and I kept waiting, just like you were saying, Ranier. I kept waiting. When is this goddamn tournament going to start? You know, and it never did. So it was baffling. It was really baffling to me.
It's like putting your quarter in the machine. It keeps popping out of the little thing. It's like it never happens. It never starts.
Sorry, Vito. I think you were going to say something there.
No, I was just pointing at the screen because, like, yes, that is exactly what it is. It is an Avengers style bullshit. Yeah, this is a big move from a company that's been very financially successful to find its footing in another market. Like 100%. They want, I mean, we saw in the news, Joe Taslim, you know, who's fantastic as Sub-Zero, and talking about Asian representation and also talking about martial artists, you know, being martial artists in movies. He's fantastic. He's one of the best that we have right now. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be Sub-Zero 4 more times. Don't worry. And you're like, well, four more times? There's gonna be 4 more of these? Really? How are we? Is there 4 more tournaments? Like, what are you doing? Because I can only imagine, guys. I want to hear what you guys think of this pitch for the next title. Okay, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat. Right, that's what it's going to be.
There you go.
Because now the actual Mortal Kombat's going to happen.
Tournament, yeah.
Mortal Kombat, the combat before the combat.
Exactly. No, it's the thing that when I say it's a little bit less than fine, what I mean is just like, as an isolated experience of something that I was able to see in my basement on a Thursday night, it cost $50 million to make it. I never thought I would see this again. That was great, that isolated time. But when you bring context into it, you know, when you're talking about the future and this kind of being a cynical cash grab, maybe setting up some sort of lazy new cinematic universe that's not very well connected because the games themselves have rebooted themselves so many times. When you start talking about this having any thread or connection to its past, like that's when it starts to get really foggy and really hazy for me in terms of how to even judge this. It's like if the first Marvel movie we saw had been the Avengers, like, would we like that movie? I don't know.
It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we asked ourselves that all the time. Like, oh, what if you were just thrown into the Marvel universe and you saw like Infinity War before you saw any other movie, would you like it still? Our answer is generally no. Like there's too much backstory you're missing out on, right? So that's a good question for this one too. But yeah, I tend to think this is just not a very good movie, however you slice it, you know? Oh, you know, one thing I wanted to mention, you know, I keep talking about how awesome the original Mortal Kombat theme song is. Where is the techno music in this movie?
Oh, did you hear it in there?
Oh
They
my
actually
God.
kind of sewed it in there. Did you hear
It's
that?
like
Okay.
every now and then, right?
Yeah, they
Well,
put it every now and then, but it wasn't techno.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
they
techno.
kind of like they remixed it so that it would fit like their tempo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the score. Like I think at the end during the final battle, you hear like a little bit of a nuanced version of the theme
Yeah.
song, but it's definitely not the original techno version. It's not like a dance remix or anything. So it's barely there. And just generally the music in the movie is a total departure. Like they went away from techno entirely, which that rubbed me the wrong way. And then almost like a slap in the face, during the end credits, they finally bring out like a
They played
dance
it.
version.
They finally played it.
They finally play it, which is good, but it was at the same time it was this kind of weak ass dubstep version of it, and I was like, fuck this shit. Like, no, just no.
Yeah, I'm not roundhousing to this.
That's right. That's right. I felt no desire to throw some kicks, you know. So
I've heard
that's my
enough
bar.
episodes of this show, by the way, Henry. I've heard enough episodes of you guys talking. You guys are all fantastic, by the way, in any episode I've picked up, to know that you are very upset by this.
Thank you. I was legit upset. Legit.
I was really angry, and I loved your point earlier, though. I was so angry that we didn't, first of all, start this movie with the words Mortal Kombat on screen, and then having someone scream those words for me to know that that's what they said. I really appreciate that from the original movie. But I was also upset that all I kept hearing throughout it, it's like they were treating the whole movie like a long dubstep buildup, and then the credits was the drop for some reason, where they finally go, Mortal Kombat! I was like, but it's over. You're done combating. But like,
Right.
you should have put that earlier. Instead, all you get, like you're saying in the scores, you get that little da 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 da. And you no, come back. That was almost good. Bring that back to me.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
Oh no, great points. Great points. Yeah, I kind of felt overall with this new movie, they were going a little bit more for effects and gore over like kind of what I was saying with the original movie, well choreographed martial arts action, right? So I mean, it seemed like a specific choice, but yeah, it didn't seem right to me. I do get what you're saying, Christian. Like, you got the gore you were looking for. Like to me, I was excited to watch this movie because I felt that finally, oh, they're gonna take the original Mortal Kombat movie, which worked well with real martial artists, and they're gonna add the R-rated stuff that we didn't get. You know, they wanted a big box office, so they made that movie like PG-13, right? Now we get the rated R rating, right? So we get the blood and guts that we've been waiting our lifetime to get, right? But sadly for me, it was at the expense of the kung fu action I was looking for, right? So kind of unfortunate. Oh, and real quick on Louis Tan, I felt like there was a big missed opportunity here. Like you, Ranier, I'm a fan of this guy. You know, I went to a panel he was on at San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago, and yeah, he has this great story. He busted his ass to get to where he is now. He has a background in martial arts and stunts and fight choreography. And as much as I was looking forward to this movie as a Mortal Kombat vehicle, I was looking forward to it to see Louis Tan finally get his leading role, you know?
Yeah.
But again, like there's a big missed opportunity here because like the Liu Kang actor, Robin Shao from the original Mortal Kombat movie, this guy has the chops. He has a lifetime of martial arts and stunt work. He could have done like the cool shit that Liu Kang did in the original, right? But I didn't think he really got the showcase he should have gotten. This guy can do it. Like, and I kept waiting to see some like dope kung fu moves from him. That never really happened, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. They positioned him as like an MMA fighter.
And a pretty shitty one at that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like there's this great martial artist here, and the character called for like a not so great martial artist. So I don't know.
Didn't they say that his
Yeah.
biggest issue was that he couldn't block? Wasn't that the thing? Like he didn't block?
So yeah, at the beginning he was like all attack, and that's why he kept losing.
Which I was just really, because I remember that beginning cage fight when he's got the guy like in the full arm bar and everything, the leg bar or whatever the bar is that he's got him in. It's something, but he's got him all the way there, and then he just completely loses it. And I was like, I don't think that was the problem. I don't think there was any blocking issue there. It just seems like the guy just got out. And I just kept being confused by the choices that they gave that character. They kept asking him, like, you have to find your arcana, and everyone else finds their arcana in really easy ways. Because I guess Kano, his arcana is his eye thing, which happens when he gets really mad. His one eye thing shoots out a laser when he's angry.
Yeah.
I don't see a through line there, but okay, movie, you're telling me that. And then Sonya Blade, when she kills Kano, her thing is armbands. Okay, I know that from the game, but again, I don't see why that would be. And then with him, they're like, no, you see though, he gets the shit kicked out of him all the time, right? That's his superpower, is he gets the shit kicked out of him. You go, I don't, okay, I guess.
Hey, speaking of,
go ahead. No, I was just like, just with the two weapons. And also he has two weapons. And you go, why? But why does he have two weapons? Every time you ask why, the movie's like, shh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Just go with it.
There will be more blood in a minute.
So speaking of blocking, I think that now that I remember it, I think the thing that was peculiar to me with the video game wasn't there a block button?
Yeah.
There is.
Street Fighter, you just hold back and you're blocking, but there's a specific button for block. Yeah, just trying to tie it back.
I rarely use it.
So you're more of a Louis Tan kind of.
More of a Louis Tan kind of guy. Got the shit beat out of me. Yeah, but that's my superpower.
All offense.
Exactly.
I think they were kind of going for this thing of what the characters are driven by. So Kano is driven by anger. So once he tapped into his anger, he got his power. And then I think with Cole, it was like he's driven by his protectiveness to his family. So I think when his family was legit threatened and in danger, that's when his power came out. I think, I had to kind of reach for that, but I think that's what they're going for. Not to say that like the majority of the movie made much sense at all, because I was scratching my head for a lot of it.
They have to find their special place to fly.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. That is exactly what they want you to get from those scenes, and that there's Goro threatening his family, and like this is when he rises up. It's just that it seems it just seems incredibly random how their arcana is in any way. Also, terrible name for whatever it is we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot every time I say it, but his arcana is that he has a police baton and then a sword, and he's covered with a gold thing on his upper body, but not his lower body, just his upper body. And that is what happens when his family is threatened. And it's like, okay, I mean, again, the moment you start to think about this, it does kind of like fall away from you, but it is a little upsetting at how dumb it thinks it can be without you being upset by it.
I thought it was going to go one of two ways. I thought either they were going to create a brand new character for them to drop into a brand new game, or he was going to embody Scorpion.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for the latter, but
I kind of wanted Scorpion.
They did tease it, yeah.
With the rope, with the bracelet that has the colors.
Yeah, the bracelet. He gets the like Scorpion's kunai like at some point in the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys bring up a good point, because I was kind of struggling with how the movie ended. It seemed to me they were setting up Cole as being like the new Scorpion, like you're saying, Ranier, right? But inexplicably, we see the original Scorpion come back and they team up to fight Sub-Zero. So really odd. I mean, number one, it goes against like how I feel about Mortal Kombat. It shouldn't be 2 against 1, right? One-on-one, right? Come on. But the fact that there's the original Scorpion and this new character who, I mean, we never really get to figure out like what the heck this guy is about, because I really thought they were leading towards, okay, he's the new Scorpion, and that to me would have made sense. But the way it ended, I just, yeah, I don't know like who he is. He doesn't even have a code name. Like, come on, he doesn't have a cool Mortal Kombat name, right? Like, what the hell? He's Cole. Like, that's not cool.
Oh,
Let's name him right now. What's his Mortal Kombat name?
Disappointment.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
me. That's my name for him.
I'm gonna rep hard for gold long sleeve tee.
Gold
That might be a
long
little
sleeve.
long, but I just think it's right on the nose, just like Mortal Kombat usually is.
I was gonna go
Gold
with
T.
I
Gold
was
T.
gonna-
That's his name.
I was gonna go with Gold's Gym.
Ah,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I'm not gonna when I saw like he like got his Arcana and he got the police batons, my first thought was like, oh, is he Striker? Like
Right.
like that's like I was like, I know that's like a very like kind of lower tier Mortal Kombat character who's like a SWAT character in the games. But I was like, well, I guess he's working with Jax. Is this like Striker's origin? Is he gonna join with Jax at the end of the movie? Like I wasn't really sure where they were gonna take it at the end.
yeah. But what did you think, Porfirio? What's his name?
I don't know. I thought they were gonna give him something ridiculous like Golden Eagle or something like that.
See, now there's a good Mortal Kombat name. You know, well, maybe not good, but it's a Mortal Kombat name, and it's a lot better than Cole.
Oh,
Okay, so I mean, we're kind of getting into Bash territory here. I think there are certainly some highlights to the movie. Maybe we can get into some of the good parts. Yeah, we talked a bit about fan service. There definitely are some fan service moments. Anyone want to call out some favorite little Mortal Kombat nods here? I did mention the one with Kung Lao and the hat, right? There's a super gnarly scene where he splits, let's see, what's her name? Nitara, the winged woman, in half, right? Like a buzzsaw.
he surfs her onto the buzzsaw. Like
Yeah, oh, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a body surfs her. Yeah.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I will say this, for a movie, for a video game franchise that is known for fatalities, we got a couple pretty awesome fatality scenes here. There's that one, and there was Jax like exploding the guy's head with his metal arms.
Mhm.
That was
That
pretty
was
dope.
great.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Any other fan moments you guys want to call out?
I did
I
love
think it was
all-
cool seeing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I thought it was cool seeing like some like other characters we've never seen before, like Cabal and just off the like not the popular ones like Reptile and Kano and Sonya, Liu Kang, or yeah, and the Easter eggs like Katana's fans. Like I said, since I love Katana and I was waiting to see her, but we saw her fans in the background. Melina, I thought that was cool seeing her. Yeah, that's what I thought was cool. Just seeing some like first time characters come to life.
I was gonna say that like I loved everything about Sub-Zero specifically. Like all the I feel like you got to see his entire move set, pretty much. Like you saw the ice sword, you saw him do that like ice feint where like he crouches and turns to ice. You saw like just about everything you could with Sub-Zero, and so it's like, oh yeah, like I'm sure Sub-Zero fans are gonna love this.
You did get to see a pretty good assortment of moves from Sub-Zero, although I guess there was one big one missing, his finishing move, right? where he
That's true.
pulls the dude's spine out.
The spine.
Maybe the sequel will have that. Leave us wanting more.
Got my fingers crossed.
So at the very end, there's a fan moment, right? There is a poster for Johnny Cage, right? Yeah, how do you guys feel about Johnny Cage not being in the movie? Like, that's a major Mortal Kombat character. Wasn't in it at all.
They're like, man, Jean-Claude Van Damme said no again.
We'll never get that guy.
Or second strike.
And he needs the money too. Like, geez, and he still said no.
Street Fighter or nothing.
Yeah, watching the original, there was kind of a cool dynamic. I mean, the acting wasn't great, but there was definitely chemistry between the three leads, right? Liu Kang, Sonya, and Johnny, right? They had some cool comedic moments, and you kind of got to know them, and you definitely rooted for them, right? So I think there was a little something missing here with no Johnny Cage, I think.
I think that Kano
yeah.
was probably filling up that comic relief space.
Yeah.
And I kind of actually wonder if they were doing a little test, because they knew that Johnny Cage would everyone would want him back, but he's in the animated he's in 2 animated renditions of Mortal Kombat, as well as being in that original movie. We've seen a lot of him, and I wonder if his shtick, like he's kind of a misogynist. He might be a little bit of a racist at times. He's mostly an idiot, which is fun and great, and that's kind of why we like him. Is that he is a truly despicable person and gets punished for it like every step of the way. Like, that's kind of fun for this kind of franchise. But I think that putting those lines in sort of a villain's mouth, like Kano, I wonder if they were doing some sort of test. Like, are people going to be upset that this sort of language is going to be in a Mortal Kombat thing? Because like the language here is really up from that original Mortal Kombat, or really anything we've seen. Like, it's really high, and he's out there. Sometimes Kano's really funny and I'm really enjoying his stuff, and other times I'm kind of going, this feels like you're just coming up with just pop culture references when you're throwing him out kind of Deadpool style. Yeah, so I just don't think that having Kano and Johnny Cage would have worked in the same movie. They're both doing the same thing. Maybe there's more room for him in the future, but I guess it really is going to come down to who plays him and how they want to, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys big fans? Is anyone a big fan of Mr. Cage here?
As the character Johnny Cage?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up loving Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and inherently I'm a Johnny Cage fan too, because to me they're pretty much one and the same. In the original Mortal Kombat video games, Johnny Cage even does the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme move where he does the splits and he does the punch to the nuts, right?
Yep.
So it's like one and the same. Johnny Cage is Van Damme, so for that reason alone, I'm a Johnny Cage fan, and yeah, I would have loved to see him in this movie.
I would have expected to have seen him in some shape or form outside of just a poster.
Yeah. A couple of notes on fan moments. I didn't mention, after that awesome fatality from Kung Lao, he does say flawless victory. So
Flawless.
yeah, and there's a little thing with the hat. Yeah, that was cool. Kano does say Kano wins after he rips out the beating heart from Reptile, right? So pretty cool. And we were talking about the leg sweeps. They did a little play on that, right? Liu Kang swept the leg of Kano multiple times. They kept doing it over and over. That was a total video game nod, right? So
especially the way that he stands right back up in the same position, right? And gets knocked again, stands up again, gets knocked again. That's like 9-year-old me playing with my cousins right there. Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
when he says like, oh yeah,
go ahead, Christian.
So I feel like when Kano says, "Is that the only move you know?" It's almost like that's something you would have said to your friend who keeps doing that to you.
Yes.
And they would just keep doing it because it might be, but the point is that you still can't jump for some reason.
You throw your controller at the other person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you win. Flawless victory.
Nice. One other fan moment, we talked about the Jax finishing move we saw. before he does that brain smashing thing against his opponent, I guess the name is Reiko. Reiko is like dazed, right? And he's doing that thing right out of the video game, right? When the text comes on the screen, finish him. Your opponent is in that dazed state, right? They did that, right? They did that exact thing. Reiko is like standing and like wobbling around, right? Straight out of the video game. So that was kind of cool to see too.
Although one thing with that fatality that did disappoint me a little bit is that they were fighting in the pit, and there's a fatality that you can only do in the pit where you uppercut your opponent and they fall and then get hit with the spikes. And like when you see that arena, you're like, oh crap, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do the fatality? And I really wanted them to do that fatality because that was like the cool like stage fatality.
Oh, that's a good catch. I didn't notice that.
Mhm.
But yeah, at the same time, it's like if you're gonna set it up, you got to follow through, right? Yeah,
That's true.
did not happen. Okay, any other thoughts in terms of highlights, things you liked?
Oh, I would say like the very first scene, I think is probably the best part of the movie. Which sets up like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, where like the Lin Kuei attack the Shirai-Ryu and like kill everybody and kill Scorpion. Like that's a cool fight. Like it's a great setup. Like I remember seeing that scene. I'm like, this movie's gonna be awesome. Oh man, I'm so pumped. And then of course, the rest of the movie happened.
The same way. I feel like it started really strong, and then it just lost its way.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is really great. And actually, every scene with Scorpion or Sub-Zero, honestly, it kind of feels like those two characters, because of the performance, because of that, they're legit great actors and great performers. It almost feels like they're in a different movie than other people. Like they have this centuries long struggle that veers in and out of the afterlife. Like this is a lot bigger deal than Sonya Blade being like, oh, I won't kill Kano, but I have to kind of kill Kano. I want the mark, but I don't have it. Like it just has a bigger emotional weight to it. And so when it does come to these two like smashing heads together, we've been fighting since 16, 17, man. And when they finally do get to fight in the cage at the end, like there's just this really big feeling to that. There's a big feeling to those two characters that I wish the movie had kind of capitalized on for the rest of its cast. I kind of wish there had been a little bit less jokey if you have this potential to tell something kind of this grand. And that's something I really enjoyed about it. Just going off your point, Christian, is man, be Han and Hanzo. That's what I'm here for.
I could actually see that. Like I would have preferred to have seen like maybe just a straight up Scorpion movie or just Sub-Zero, and everything else could help supplement that story.
Yeah.
It almost feels like they were going for this storyline of a new Scorpion, like Louis Tan becomes a new Scorpion, but maybe they ditched it like halfway because they're thinking, oh, what was cool? That first scene we did, the Scorpion versus Sub-Zero scene, let's just do that at the end and finish the movie on that. Like, yeah, let's just do that. Forget all this other crap we've been setting you up for. It kind of feels like that, right? I have a feeling that there was some version of the script where Cole becomes the new Scorpion, and maybe they even shot like that ending. But they
release the Cole cut.
There you go. But yeah, they decided to go with what we got. All right. So I think we can get towards wrapping up. Any final thoughts on the new Mortal Kombat movie?
Do you guys think they left it open for a sequel?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with that Johnny Cage poster. Yeah. I mean, apparently,
and what would that sequel look like to you guys?
Hopefully a tournament.
Yeah.
That's all I'd want. I would just want a tournament. That's it. Just get me two fighters in a ring, preferably surrounded by other people watching, and then have them transported to exotic locations where they destroy those locations in extreme ways and where it ends in a gory death. That, please. The
I
game.
would,
Yeah.
Second.
Exactly. That's what
Yes,
she
yes,
asked.
and yes. Love it.
my expectation actually for this movie was like I would have loved to have seen it like Game of Death style, where it's like you climb every level and it's like new opponent. Here we go.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Just like the
Either
arcade
way.
ladder.
Yeah. Either way, it has to be sequential. It has to be one-on-one. It has to be to the death or to forfeit, right? Because we've seen that a couple times where someone's like,
Yep.
actually, I don't want to fight you, so we're gonna leave it alone.
Yep.
But it just has to be conclusive. And it's about Earthrealm and Otherworld and the undergods coming over. You got to be really confused by the mythology of the whole thing. That's what I just want. That. Give me that. Thank you for this. I want this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ranier, you mentioned Game of Death. There's the tried and true formula. You know, there's Enter the Dragon, martial arts tournament. There's the original Mortal Kombat movie, martial arts tournament. Bloodsport, martial arts tournament. And there's an inherent upping the stakes with those kind of movies, because as lesser fighters are eliminated, you get bigger stakes. And then, what you mentioned, Vito, duel to the death, huge stakes, right? So it's just an easy way to make a fun movie, right? And it becomes less complicated. And I think you mentioned too, having a crowd. I was surprised how much I missed that. Like just a crowd in the background, like cheering the fighters on. That was completely missing here, right? That was an element that I was, I felt like there's a void there. Right?
It's like
Again, from oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just like half the movie Bloodsport, right? Is the crowd. Like it's the crowd that makes it. Everyone being like, "Oh no!" Like you need to know how they're reacting to know how you should feel.
They're like a character in the movie, right? Like they're chanting a fighter's name, and then they turn on them and they go to the other fighter, right? That's like it's a lot of fun in these kind of movies, right? Totally lacking in this one.
I think the lack of crowds may have to do with like COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
Right.
Good point.
Fortunately, Sub-Zero and Scorpion were fully masked.
Very good.
And
Very
Cabal.
good.
And Cabal.
Cabal,
Cabal.
Yeah.
yes.
A lot of those guys were masked up.
Well, Kano's the kind of asshole that wouldn't,
Of course.
Anti-masker, yeah.
Anti-vaxxer,
Absolutely.
obviously.
Yeah. I also just love it when he pulls out the heart and he look, it's a fucking beauty, isn't it? I just love that. It was great. I rewound that clip a couple times. It's Kano wins and then it's a fucking beauty, isn't it?
Good stuff. Okay. So as we always do, we're going to rate this one on a scale of 1 to 5. Who shall we start with? How about you, Porfirio? What would you give this movie?
From 1 to 5, a 2. I thought it was entertaining. Thought it was fun. Would I watch it again? It maybe if I had a few drinks in me, give me a few years, and then I'll probably watch it again. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good action movie. Was it a good movie? No, but yeah, that's why I said 2 to 5.
Okay, up next, how about you, Christian?
I would probably also say 2. I think everyone here definitely hit the nail on the head pretty well with a lot of the movie's problems. And while I really, as a fan of the series, I did enjoy a lot of the nods and the fights. That I did come out of this thinking like, that was fun, but like, what was that at times, And I'd be very curious to show this movie to like a non-Mortal Kombat person and see what they think, because like there's a lot of, hey, I got that reference, I got that reference, but the movie doesn't have, I guess, too much else past that, even though I did really enjoy those references and those real hits. And so 2 out of 5 is probably good. Maybe 2.5, I guess.
Cool. How about you, Ranier?
Ooh. You get a 2. You get a 2. Everyone gets 2s. I'm gonna give it a 2. I mean, I think it had good intentions, but it just fell short.
Got it. Vito, would you rate this one?
If I could, I'd like to give a couple ratings real quick. I'm gonna agree with the wall of 2s, first of all, especially in discussion about this. I knew it wouldn't go well, and it hasn't, but that's only fair. I would rate my first experience watching this movie a 3 because I had a great time. Just it's not one that's going to live in the brain well. But I would also say this isn't a dad movie, just for my own personal ratings. And then a final rating, I would rate my time with you guys. It's an easy 5.
Yay.
It's an easy 5.
Yeah.
Definitely ditto.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
I was very happy to do this.
Likewise.
This is very, very fun. I didn't know it would be so fun, but I mean, hey, it's Mortal Kombat. How couldn't it be?
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. Just our conversation talking about how we watched this movie, and we all watched a lot of Mortal Kombat content recently. And just the thought of like these grown men watching this ridiculous franchise, like that kind of warms my heart in a lot of ways, you know. But yeah, we're gonna go across the board 2s because I'm giving it a 2 also, not a recommendation. Better than Mortal Kombat and Annihilation. I'll say that.
Yes.
there is that. You know what else too? There are reasons to watch this movie. Like I alluded to earlier, the original Mortal Kombat movie is great, but you're really missing out on the blood of the video games, right? That's a staple. That's a signature of the video game series, right? The violence, right? It was really missing. And it was really telling watching it again, how tame that original movie is. It is not violent at all. It's called Mortal Kombat, but there's no blood. The deaths are barely deaths. And it's crazy. There's a scene where Goro kills this fighter named Art Lean. And it's supposed to be this shocking moment, right? Johnny, Sonya, and Liu Kang are watching in horror, right? Because Goro is killing Art Lean, right? And Shang Tsung is like, finish him. And Goro lifts up Art Lean, and you think he's gonna like rip him in half, tear his head off, who knows what, right? And what does he do? He just kind of bonks him on the head. And apparently he's dead, and Shang Tsung like takes his soul out. Very tame, and like that's a fatality, right? So with this new one, what I'm driving at is you finally get to see like legit live action Mortal Kombat violence, right? So there is that. We talked about some cool fan moments. So it's not all bad. But ultimately a big disappointment for me, you know. I've been talking about this a lot, but to me, this is not a kung fu flick. You know, I love kung fu flicks. Shaw Brothers, Bruce Lee, Van Damme, Jackie Chan, Sonny Chiba. There's a long, great history of kung fu flicks, kung fu cinema. To me, this movie is not kung fu cinema. It's like a violent special effects movie with some martial arts in it. Leave it at that. It's not a kung fu movie. It is not a kung fu movie. So, you know, with the positives in it, some cool fan moments, the gore of the franchise we've been looking for, you know, that's in there. But bottom line is, it's just not the kung fu movie I was looking for. And with
Well said.
that, yes, exactly. And again, Vito, thanks so much for joining in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Cool. With that, we can wrap up the episode. This is farewell from Vito, Porfirio, Christian, Ranier, and Henry.